Hello again, it's Noob, and do you know what? I haven't done a review on a lock picking book on my channel for quite some time, so I'm going to correct that today. The book we're going to review is clearly Easy Picking by Suba Tools, and you can buy this book in a number of different places, all for roughly the same price. But I have to say this particular copy was sent to me by Wendt, and you can purchase this on their zearfix.com website, for which I'll leave a link to below in the description. So why did I want to review this book? Well, three reasons actually. Number one being that it's really common to buy, it's everywhere. Two is that I'd heard good things about it. And three, and I think this is critical, it's got 5 different translations. So English, German, French, Spanish and Italian, all for roughly the same price, which is somewhere around 20 to 23 euros depending on the translation, which is really very good for a book of this type. I mean, 5 translations for a book is really excellent because it really puts it out there for more pickers. I've read this book from cover to cover, I absolutely have, and a couple of first impressions I got is that one, it's definitely aimed at very new pickers. So it's not an intermediate picking book, it's not an advanced picking book, it's for people who don't really know a lot about the internals of a lock, how they work, how they can defeat them, all the terminology, how to use the tools, what types of tools are right. It really starts at the basics. And I think if you bear that in mind, the rest of the book will fall into place as to your understanding of why it works, how it works, and who it's aimed for. My other takeaway points, just my first impressions, is just how clear the book is. It doesn't use a lot of words. This isn't chapters and chapters and chapters of text followed by a couple of images. No, it's just absolutely full of very clear, uncluttered images. Even when we're talking about something more complicated like master wafer systems like this, the diagrams still are very, very clear and very easy to understand, and also step by step. So those are my very much first impressions of the book. What does the book cover? Well, it covers quite a lot. Have a look at this table of contents, for example. Right. So we have an introduction, which is very nice, and there it is. It talks about pin tumbler lock basics. So what is a pin tumbler lock? What is, what's inside it? What are pins? Those kind of things. Then it says, why are some locks unpickable? What it actually means is what makes a lock hard to pick. And that's how I determine it, because it talks about tight tolerances, sidebars, security pins, those kind of things. So that isn't technically true even to this book. Your approach and attitude. Okay, so can you see how it's like really leads you through how to hold the picks, science of picking, how do you progressively pick a lock. Then talks about, so that's like single pin picking, then raking, then pick guns, and then bump keys, and then what are the differences when you start picking master keyed locks, picking wafer locks, then just some general picking practice tips, and then tubular lock picking, and then goes into conclusions. So it covers an awful lot. In fact, even in the first few pages, so up to I think chapter 3, by the time that you've read just these few pages, if you didn't know anything about locks, you'll know pretty much all there is to know about what a lock is, what's inside it, why you can pick them, and what makes some locks hard to pick. It's very visual about, for example, here, how manufacturing tolerances can make the binding order of pins occur. If you know what I mean, it's it's these tolerances here. Between the position of the pin chambers and the location of the pins and things, which actually give you that binding order. So in terms of the pros of this book, then I've got a couple of cons. There aren't that many. So the pros of this book are, one, it's truly excellent and clear for understanding all about lock picking for the perspective of a new picker. I've read a lot of lock picking books, and this is definitely one of the most succinct and clear books with a very clear visual style. It's really awesome. Other things I'll say, it covers an awful lot in quite a small amount of time. So, you know, it really takes you through standard pin, single pin picking to raking techniques, through to, even things like how to use pick guns and bump keys. It's got really nice sections here on wafer locks, as you can see there. Look at all these lovely wafer lock diagrams. It talks to you about tubular locks as well, which is really awesome, and how you pick those. So it just covers a lot in such a small amount of time. It really is good, and it seems to like almost look after you throughout the book. It sort of assumes no knowledge to begin with, and leaves no stone unturned, and there's a diagram for everything. So those are the pros for absolutely certain. In terms of cons, well, I don't think that the fact it's aimed at beginners is a con, so that's certainly not a con. There are a couple of things I don't necessarily agree with. It tends to say that you should lubricate the lock. It says with a spray type lubricant or recommended Teflon based lubricants. I would say that that's probably true for most locks, but some locks are actually dry lubricated, and adding a wet lubricant to them isn't recommended at all. So that's just one small criticism of the book. And the other thing is that when it talks about raking, whilst this chapter is really good, it doesn't go into sort of many different types of raking movements. It seems to focus on a figure of 8 pattern. And then the only other thing is that whilst it covers an awful lot of picking techniques from even jiggler keys, and pick guns and bump keys, oddly, it doesn't talk about dimple locks at all. Now, I don't think that's a huge deal, because of course dimple locks are just a pin tumbler mounted sideways, but it'd be nice that if it at least mentioned the tools for dimple locks, like flags, alongside standard pin tumbler picks. So those are sort of the pros, those are the cons. Overall, I think I would strongly recommend this book to beginners, and I really mean that. If only because, like I said, it hand holds you through every aspect of picking a lock, from what it is, what's stopping you from picking a lock, how to approach picking a lock, all the different techniques you use to pick a lock. It really, really is, end to end for a new picker. Truly excellent, and like I said, very concise. And I think that what I'll do is I'll leave the review by saying one thing it really gets very clear here is it understands, the need to practice, which I think that all new pickers definitely need to understand. So that's my review of the Super Tools Easy Picking book. Like I said, I think it's an excellent book for new pickers. I'll be really interested to know in the comments what you think. Have you owned this book? Do you recommend it like I do for new pickers? Did you use it when you started picking? I wish I did, actually. This is one book that escaped me. Just let me know in the comments what you think. Go check out this book. I certainly think that if you knew somebody who was into picking or wanted to learn about picking, was a visual learner, and they'd appreciate a book like this, then it certainly make a really nice gift for them. Well, that's me finished with the review. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all next time.